Spike! Yo, Spike, get up.
Oh, hey, what?
Have you heard the announcement from Netflix? We've been getting a lot of good press coverage.
Press coverage? I don't recall getting this much attention since our 20th anniversary yet.
Live action production revealed, Spike. See, there's you. He's portrayed by this guy named John Cho. This big bloke named Mustafa Shakir is portraying me.
Daniela seems to be portraying me well, but she'll never outmatch this original beauty.
Oh, I'm his happy, Fei. You took him out for a walk.
Well, I guess it's hard to hate Dine in the end. Hey, wait a minute, where's Ed?
I shall take on the duty of Ed Fei.
What do you think, Spike? Any trace of cynicism?
I don't know, Jet. I'm getting some good vibes from this.
The initial images are widespread now. We have got our first insight into the live-action adaptation of the most beloved anime series, Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop has become so popular that if you know any media enthusiast who has even the remotest interest in anime, chances are one of their favorite anime series is Cowboy Bebop. This anime is known for its flashy action, bizarre humor, and is most well known for its existentialist themes. People have been reviewing, rewatching, and analyzing this even 20 years after its initial release. And now, the streaming service Netflix are going to make a live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. It shall release on November 19th of this year. The cast has been confirmed, and let's take a look at the images. One of the first things you'll notice about these photos is the serious lack of Ed. Ed was the fourth member of Cowboy Bebop, or, well, fifth if you include Aang the dog. And Ed was a genius child hacker who would join the Cowboy Bebop crew on their adventures. Perhaps this Netflix adaptation wanted to focus more on the dramatic side of things? Or maybe Ed is going to appear in later episode in this adaptation. I don't know. It will be a bit of a shame to see Ed left out, especially for Doug Walker's, aka Nostalgia Critic, since one of his top favorite characters of all time is Ed. Netflix are going to make Doug Walker cry if you don't put Ed into this Cowboy Bebop adaptation. Bad, Netflix, bad. But then again, they could be going for an entirely different direction, and to be fair, the first 7 or so episodes of the show didn't even have Ed in it. And this show is going to be at least 2 seasons long as far as I know, with hour-long episodes. So if I were to guess correctly, Ed might appear in Season 2, or Part 2 of however this show is going to be formatted. Now that we have the absence of Ed out of the way, let's focus on the quality of these images. I think they got the right balance here. The production quality is really showing in these images. Maybe they could have done with a few more daytime images to see what these characters look like in daylight, but in the meantime, we've got these really grimy, atmospheric images of these characters either hanging around at the streets at nighttime or chilling out on the Bebop ship. And I hate to sound like a nerd who's letting nostalgia blind him or something, but the images do resemble the original show very well. With only some slight differences, but with this being a new adaptation, I think these slight differences are welcome. The Cowboy Bebop series has been most well known for its mix of urban realism and high-tech sci-fi. As a matter of fact, the original show was more down-to-earth than it was elaborately high-tech, akin to like Star Wars. Cowboy Bebop always had this very grounded feeling, even when it got fairly exotic with its science fiction. At maximum, with their science fiction, they would often have plasma lasers attached to their planes or light-speed travel tunnels, but that's pretty much it when it comes to the extremities of sci-fi in terms of the Cowboy Bebop series. The show was quite colorful, as well as quite grounded and dark, which was a brilliant combination regarding the original show's bizarre tone, which could simultaneously be bizarrely humorous as much as it could be intensely dramatic. Cowboy Bebop is a colorful but dangerous universe, and color wasn't only used to give it its own identity, but also so that we could tell the characters apart. And let me tell you, if the colors for these main characters didn't pop out in the show, they certainly pop out here. Especially with Spike Spiegel's blazer coat. I really like the way each of the characters' costumes almost pop out from the imagery. Looking at these images, they seem to be replicating some scenes from the original show. We have a scene of Spike Spiegel practicing his martial arts, just like in the very first episode of the show. We see Spike Spiegel having a shootout in the church, like he did in Ballad of the Fallen Angels. Although, judging by this image, it's hard to tell if he's particularly in action. He seems to be walking away from the scene in a very edgy way. Yet the homage to Ballad of the Fallen Angels is quite obvious to anyone who has seen the show. After all, that scene at the church was probably everyone's favorite scene from the entire series, as it completely turned the way everyone saw the show around. There's no sightings of his arch-nemesis Vicious yet, though maybe he's hidden in the background there, but that's probably just a statue. We also get to see Faye Valentine and Jet Black in action. Jet Black seems to be leaning on the streets in front of an explosion. You know there's going to be some action when you see an explosion. And we also see Faye Valentine at a pub getting her gun out. I think this sole image could speak volumes of Faye Valentine's character. She's a con artist who uses seduction as her weapon, and we regularly see her in pubs, although more so with casinos with her failed gambling habit. We also get a group shot of Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, and Faye Valentine walking Ein the dog, who is a corgi like he was in the show. We get another group shot, excluding Ein unfortunately, with Spike, Jet, and Faye lying and lounging around on that yellow couch in the Bebop. If you ask me, I think everyone's in character here. The only way for Spike Spiegel to be more Spike Spiegel if he was full-on slumping and slouching. So now let's talk about the choice of cast for these characters. Firstly, you have John Cho as the main character, Spike Spiegel. Spike is typically the one who has the most action, yet he's also repenting from a previous criminal lifestyle. Looking at this character, John Cho looks the part. For those who are unfamiliar with John Cho, he was in the recent Star Trek film adaptations. We got to see some of his martial arts there, so John Cho is no stranger to action-packed sci-fi. If there is any fight choreography, I'm sure John Cho can nail it. Then you have Daniela Pineda as Faye Valentine, if I've pronounced that name correctly. She looks the part, and thankfully she has more modest clothing. They've remembered her yellow and maroon clothing aesthetic. I believe the black stockings are a new addition for this adaptation. And then you have Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black. Now, something to point out, in the original show, Jet Black here was not of African-American descent. At least none that I know of. But I welcome this live-action adaptation change to make him African-American. For several reasons. Reason 1. The English dub of Jet Black was portrayed by an African-American man anyway, and his voice really fitted Jet Black very well. Second reason, if Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton has taught us anything, is that unless you're trying to make a very historically accurate piece of media, you can have the characters be portrayed by pretty much anybody as long as they portray the character well. Reason number 3, you can change a character and some traits of them any way you want, as long as some key characteristics remain the same. And thinking about Rafiki in the Lion King stage adaptation, he was a male in the original animated classic, whereas in the stage adaptation, Rafiki was a female. Yet the key characteristics remain the same. Rafiki was still eccentric and wide. In the same veins, looking at Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black, I'd say some of the key characteristics still remain the same. Jet Black is still quite bulky, sturdy, and the adaptation has yet to come out, so let's just hope that there's going to be some good performances. Although, I've got to put my faith in this adaptation, because the original creator of the show himself, Shinshiro Watanabe, is getting involved in production. So, they have the original creator's blessing. But not just Shinshiro Watanabe, but also bringing in good old Yoko herself to produce the music. But not just Shinshiro Watanabe, but also bringing in good old Yoko herself to create more music for this adaptation. So, they have the same director, the same musician. Thus far, they seem to have respect for the source material. My only major disappointment with this adaptation so far is that they didn't hire Keanu Reeves to play a Spike Spiegel. He loves Cowboy Bebop. So, everyone, fingers crossed, and pray that this will not be an awful adaptation, like Netflix's take on Death Note. So, if you're an anime lover, you might want to stick around. I've brought another collector's edition for one of my favorite shows, and you know what? I think I'm gonna review Cowboy Bebop at some point. Scott Meyer signing out. In the meantime, see you, Space Cowboy. Bang.